Hello, hello, hello. This is Tooth Be Told, Dr. Kyle Dumpert.
This is Dr. Kyle Walter. This is Dr. Kyle Walter. This is how long it's been. This is Dr. Walter Aka. Maybe I want your name now. I want your name. It's been a while. It's been a minute. But we actually have a very, very special guest. We have somebody that, so the way this happened was I actually met her on Clubhouse. She was hosting one of the pre-dental classes or groups, and Clubhouse, for anybody that doesn't know, is like this up and coming, and I feel hip. I feel young when I'm on this. It's an up and coming basically app. And it's only for the funny thing. It's only for Apple users, not for Android. So that's another thing that kind of makes me feel distinguished and
exclusive.
Exclusive.
I'm discriminated against.
No, for sure.
My Android.
You're never gonna get on, and then you have to be invited, So I was invited, and I got a chance to listen to these dental students or pre-dental students and some dental students, and I mean, Kyle, when I say that, there's so many times we sit on this podcast and we complain, and we're gonna do that today. We're gonna complain, but we sit and we complain so much, and then we listen to some of these pre-dental students that want to be like us. And I'm always very confused as to why you want to do what we do. We complain so much that you would thought that they would be like, no, get out of here. I'm not doing this. Dentistry is not for me. But every single year, there's so many students that want to apply for dental school. I'm still confused, but I bet you people that were older than us were very confused as to why we were applying for dental school, right, Kyle?
Right.
So Paola Beneful, please correct me if I'm not saying that right.
It's Paola.
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 Paola, and so she basically connected with me and she called me out. Actually, it was funny. She called me out. She's like, "Hey, Dr. Aka, I messaged you on Instagram 2 weeks ago and you hadn't replied." And I was like, "Oh my Lord." And if anybody knows me, they know that I'm horrible with like social media all of a sudden, right? Like
he's just stuck up. He doesn't like to talk to people. He's just stuck up.
So Kyle knows me very well. So that's actually the truth, probably. So I felt horrible. And the funny thing is, like when I went on Instagram, I saw all these messages, and I was like, my Lord. I mean, thank God she called me out because it was a mess. It was a complete mess. But I wanted to bring her on because of her story. I mean, I've never heard this story before. We have so many different people that when they're applying to dental school, oh, I love teeth, and oh, my mom or dad is a dentist, and oh, I saved the whole country's teeth and mouth and all this extra stuff that people always apply for, right? But I've never heard somebody who's actually applying for dental school, gets into dental school, but had to go through so much. And I mean, truly, when you listen to her resume, if I was going against her applying for dental school, I would hope that the school would take her before me. And I say that, and I'm very full of myself, and I would say that in a heartbeat. I would hope that a school would take her before me because she's doing so much, that I don't understand how any school would reject her anyway. But we're going to hear her story. She is actually a Daca, applicant or student. And for me, and I'm going to speak from my ignorance here, I always thought Daca. I hear Daca and I think, Hispanic or Central American or so forth, but you never think African. You never think anything outside of that, and most people don't realize that the titlement of DECA or DACA comes from the fact that you pretty much overstay your visa, right? And you're undocumented. You hear that so much, and you see what's going on in the news, but you never think outside of our borders, right? The Canada and Mexico border. And so we're going to hear her story, and I think it's just incredible. And I have so many questions. And Kyle is the same way I am. We ask a lot of questions, so forgive us.
Absolutely.
If we get too personal, or if there's a question you just like, what, I just don't want to answer that. We're okay with that. You and I are. You and I are like, brother and sister because we came from Ghana both, so we were representing Ghana. And I consider Kyle to be an unofficial Ghanaian as well. He's cool enough to be in that situation. Listen, we're going to take him to Ghana one day.
I love that. Love
we're
that.
gonna take him to Ghana one day. But I wanted you to come on, so we're gonna start from the beginning.
Yeah.
Tell me your story, and that I want you to include what happened with your parents as well. So start from the beginning. Tell me what happened in 2016, 2015, and so forth.
Okay. Okay. Well, so I was born in Verona, Italy, in Ghana. Sorry, Italy.
Yes.
Yes, I was born in Verona, Italy. Two Ghanaian parents. And yeah, we came to America in early 2000s, and my parents had a tourist visa. And unbeknownst to me, at the age of 5, I fell out of status because they overstayed their visa. There's a lot of talk amongst our community, and when I say community, I mean specifically those I grew up with in Columbus, Ohio, who are immigrants or refugees, about how immigration really changed after 9/11. We came June 2000, and 9/11 happened in 2001, right? And so a lot of immigration um, applications just were null, if that makes sense. So like you've already paid to like either extend your tourist visa or your status, and they can't find it, or the application that you used was old or not the current one that they want you to use. They want more information, so you have to start over again. And I don't know about you, but immigration fees are expensive.
Yeah.
Currently,
Well,
even
let me. Can I just say real quick?
yeah,
Most people don't. If you know me and know my history, most people don't realize that I didn't become a citizen until 2000. I'm sorry, until 1998.
okay,
So I was 17. I was 16, 17 when I
mhm,
became a citizen. So I had a green card,
yeah,
Okay.
right? And it
yeah,
takes a long time. Most
yeah,
people don't. I mean, I don't think people realize how long it takes to
yeah,
become a citizen.
yeah,
It's a lot that you have to go through, and a lot of things you have to understand. And if you're 18 or older, you have to take a test. But if
yeah,
you're 17 or 18 and younger, you don't have to take a test. You pretty much just kind of sign some paperwork and you're a citizen.
yeah,
But
yeah.
the
And what
process is still 10 years.
what made your parents decide they wanted to come to the United States, Paula?
Okay, so it's actually really interesting because since the pandemic happened, I actually decided to start writing their bibliography,
Oh,
and I just
Oh,
realized
she's a
like,
writer, by the way.
okay.
She's a lot.
yeah, I enjoy writing, journaling. But their main reason was that with their level of education, it limited them just to Africa. And so my dad was an accountant. He was also a math teacher, and it's just like you're not getting paid enough for what you do, or
Hmm.
you're not getting like your income is so based on like the economy that you're not even making a livable wage like year to year, 6 months to 6 months. And then on top of that, if you are going to raise your kids, that's a whole different, like the whole structure of like public schooling here in America, which is free, is not common. And so they really wanted a better opportunity, not for them just themselves, but their children, because they knew they were going to have them. So when the opportunity came, they went. Like you don't. It's actually sad because my dad graduated from college, but you can't find a job, and that's also a sentiment that many people even today have in Ghana.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Um,
continue with your story.
oh, okay, yeah. So where was I? Yeah, so they basically fell out of status. And then I didn't even find out I was undocumented until middle school. And I was just like Dr. Watts, like I was like, oh, I thought like DACA people or like at that time there was no DACA, but undocumented people, illegal people were like Latinos. I didn't know it was affecting me. Like here I
You
was.
didn't know you were one of them.
Yeah,
Right.
and then like my dad, and I think what really made me know was they wanted to do like okay, so I like writing. They wanted us to go kind of do like this literature thing in Canada, like where you just visit all like the monumental places for poetry and things like that. And he was like, you can't leave this country. And I was like, why? Like why? And he was like, haven't you we're on like we don't have papers, like you can't come back. And then then it just started to like open my eyes of like things that were happening in my family that was so it made sense. Like my family was church, library, home. I did nothing else. Like people went to parks and all these things. Like no, we were actually like hiding and trying to limit our movements all throughout. And my youngest sister, she's born here, so she's an American citizen. So I would just notice sometimes like my sister would be able to go to the doctor or go to the dentist, and I'd be like, why can't I get these things? Like, and they're like, no, we can afford that for you. And I was just like, okay, well, my mom, here she is being a herbalist, like I don't like, she's using all these Ghanaian remedies and products to really heal some wounds that I feel like I should have gone to the doctor for. Like I should have stitches on my finger when I fell, but it's healed naturally with like a bandage. But that's how we made it through. But how I knew I really wanted to steer my life towards dentistry was actually because I realized, because I'm so involved in church, that many of us were not getting dental care. And I knew at that time it was just like dental care, med care. So I went to Ohio State University, and they did this med camp for the entire summer, and they just taught every part of the body. We like used live cadavers. I was really interested, but then when it came to the teeth, it's like they stopped. And I was like, okay, when are we going to learn about like the teeth? Like, or is the teeth not important? Because I know my sister goes to the dentist, and they're like, oh no, we study medicine. And I was like, I thought dentistry was a part of medicine. Like I'm confused. And so I literally I was bold. I went to the program director, who was just like visiting. I was like, can I set up a meeting to talk about adding dentistry to this program? Because I want to learn more about it. Never been to one. And she agreed. And so that was like my first advocacy moment for dentistry. And then I was like, you know what, if I can advocate for this medical institution to include dentistry in like their medical programs, then maybe I can also find a way to do that for my community and like figure out ways to get them help. And then I literally Googled like Ghanaian dentist on Google, like, or even I even went to like through the dental catalog, and I was looking at the last names. I was like, which one sounds African? Like, as long as I can get something close to my heritage, someone who will understand what I mean when I say like we are like not getting care because we're scared. And I couldn't find some in Ohio. So I couldn't do shadowing in high school. But when I went to college, that's when I was able to find Dr. Corte, who is in Brooklyn, New York. And I was so excited just to meet her and just to see how she cared for her patients. And like her staff were like so cool, and like they're always having her back. And she was like, yo, I don't know. Like she would like I just like the support system that I saw for her, and like the flexible schedule. And she was real. She even told me like dental school is expensive. I wouldn't go at this time. And I was just like, what do you want me to do? Like I was just like, well, what option do I have when it's like I really like the arts. And I want a stable career as a woman, and I want to make it mean something, have it to be meaningful for my community. And she was just like, okay, go ahead, I'll support you full on. But yeah, money's expensive.
It's amazing that every dentist, I feel like we all say the same thing. Are you sure you want to do this?
Yeah.
We went through it, right?
Yeah.
We're always saying, are you sure you want to do this? Like, it's expensive. And I think that's like the biggest reason why. It's almost like we're looking out for your pockets, even though we have no right to do that. We're sitting there telling people, are you sure you want to do this? Because in the end, I feel like dentistry has gotten to the point where it's just so unrealistic when it comes to the amount of money they're charging for what you get. That it just, I mean, we talk about this all the time. Listen to any podcast, you'll hear us saying like it's ridiculous how much dental schools are charging. And if anybody's listening, who the dean of a school, I think you're a rip-off artist. And if you want to come on and prove me wrong, by all means, please do. I have nothing. No one. I don't owe anybody anything. So please come on and prove me wrong, because I actually think that you're a rip-off artist. But anyway.
Yeah. So I couldn't, like, I think for me, what was hard is that I couldn't see myself in another career. I really tried being a lawyer at some point too, doing like debates and things. But I didn't want to talk all day. Like, and I understand I'm still going to do that with dentistry, but like I want to work with my hands. So that didn't work. And then literally the day before my birthday in 2016, I believe, Obama created this executive order called Daca, and it stands for Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals.
Mhm.
And what that really meant was that for the past 10 years, if we've lived here for 10 years, we have to prove evidence that we've been here for 10 years. We have to show that we're contributing to the community. We have to show that, you know, we don't have any criminal records. Even a misdemeanor could get you not to have a DACA status. And, you know, if you pass all these preliminary checks, then you would be given a social security card, which will then allow you to get a driver's license and a work permit. And so those are the three benefits I get from this program. And yeah, I just honestly felt like this was God telling me. And I must say, like, my two older sisters, who are all 5 years apart from me, they didn't get this chance to go to college. And I always saw my oldest sister as the brightest. Like I always, like, she always dreamed about going to Ivy League. My other sister always wanted to travel the world. And just to see that, like, once they were, you know, graduated high school in the top 10% of their school, they came home to work illegally. And that was really bothersome. And I saw how hard they worked just to like save money. And I didn't want that. I didn't
Right.
want to be in the shadows anymore. And so I feel like that is what drove me so much in high school to like do so well and try to find a way. I did the Fulbright scholarship. I don't know if you guys have heard of that, where it's
No,
like,
tell us.
okay, so the Fulbright scholarship, to my understanding, I hope I'm not calling another scholarship by its name, but there's basically a scholarship that gives, it doesn't matter if you have status, but they'll allow you to go to any Ivy League or like these other prestigious schools for that if you apply through there. And I got waitlisted even there. So I was just like, oh man. But then even when I was looking at that wait list, and it was at Yale, it was like 70,000 per year. And my mom was very clear. I'm not, I can't. I just, as a single mom, she was like, nope, I can't support you. I don't know how you're going to do it.
Listen,
and I did.
If your mom is listening, when this comes to, I'm going to tell her right now. As a doctor, there's no way in heck I'm going to have any of my kids charge $75,000. I don't care how much I make. That's not happening. You're finding a full ride
for undergrad.
somehow.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's crazy. There's no way, because in 4 years, you're telling me your 4-year degree is worth $300,000. That's a house.
Yeah.
I don't care. So tell your mom, listen, you know, single mother or not, like, no, she was right. I don't care what status you are. That's ridiculous amount of money. I don't, you know. So she should not feel bad in any sense of the word.
No, trust me, my mom would be like, yes, of course,
exactly.
Like, for what? Education when it's been free up until this point.
That's right.
My mom was not for that, and she you know, we prayed, and I ended up getting a full ride scholarship at a smaller college in Kentucky called Berea College, and I was so floored by how loving that place was. They gave me a free laptop, full tuition, and room and board. They paid for me to go to New York to shadow, like all expenses, like groceries, like hotels, transportation. I even like and they'll even like pay for you as well to like visit dental schools or like whatever graduate profession you want that's in a different state. So like that place is a golden egg, and I am so grateful to that place. It's really
What's the name again?
Berea, Berea College, and it's in Kentucky.
And what about, did you have to do like a special application for that, or just apply for that?
The application is also free.
Okay.
And is that just available for DACA, or is that available for everybody?
This is available for everyone, but their mission is actually to serve middle and low income communities.
Oh,
so yeah.
That's awesome. And is it like a liberal arts college, or is it?
It is a Christian liberal arts college.
Okay. Oh, that's awesome. So again, we just dropped a gem right there. So fast forward, right? So you went through undergrad completely free. You
Yeah.
got a chance to shadow, for free. Like literally, you're speaking my language, right? Free. I'm here. Kyle, tell me if I'm wrong. We're here in free.
Hey, I'm just waiting to chime in because this was a private college, right, Benno?
Yes, it is a private college. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to get political a little bit right now because
Kyle,
if you
they
go
never
to
stopped you.
if you go to a government school, you have to worry about following all the government subsidies and how much they're getting for taxes. But that's one of the benefits of private industry is they can offer these kinds of things through charities and other things and really funnel that money to where it needs to go without that government bureaucracy oversight that really siphons a lot of that off. So you're able to benefit a lot more from that. So I think that's great.
I 100% agree. Berea I mean, they're in their league of their own. Like, for instance, when Daca was taken away in 2017, they, I don't know if you've ever heard in the news about like shelter cities or safe cities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, LA,
yeah.
Seattle.
They were able to be the first one in the South to do that for us. And what that meant was like if ICE, which they were, if ICE was coming through our city, looking for people or asking people, because the DACA students, we were the first one in their history of accepting undocumented students. So people knew us, like we were only 7. So right. Like if any person came by and was like, oh, do you know of any undocumented or illegal people? Like, if a name was released, we were then taken. Okay. There's no due process or anything like that. But they protected us from that. And they even, when DACA was taken away, they gave us that promise that you can finish your 4 years here. Like, we won't just like leave you alone because you suddenly fell out of status because of the president. So we were able to finish with a degree.
Wow.
So, yeah, they did a lot.
I think in my experience anyway, which born and raised, all American kind of what people think of, immigration is a tough subject because on one hand, you want the best and the brightest coming in. That's what makes America what it is you have all these different cultures coming together, all these different eyes looking at it from different backgrounds. And that's really where I think America gets its strength, because we want the best and brightest that are willing to come here. If you look at most of the self-made millionaires in the country, they've come from nothing. They've built everything up. They're not afraid of hard work. There's no sense of entitlement, nothing like that. Then on the other hand, there's the whole legal process that you have to go through, which again, the government makes things more complicated than it needs to be. So it's that there's not an easy fix, I think, because it's trying to find that middle ground where you can't be heavy-handed on one side or the other, saying let everybody in versus don't let anybody in. There's this happy medium, and I think that's what a lot of people struggle with, is what is that happy medium where we can get the best and the brightest here and give everybody the opportunity of working towards a better life.
And I would even go further to say that the way that they currently have this medium is by setting a monetary limit. Like, for instance, if you have been here for 10 years and you want to, assimilate and become a citizen, then you have to pay $2,000 just for the immigration fees. And that's not including a lawyer, but you wouldn't be able to do it, read those documents and know what to exactly put without a lawyer, which can go on upwards of $3,000 and more. Yeah, so right. Yeah, that is their medium of like, okay, if you want to be a part of the society, pay up for not being a citizen. And it's really hard because it's like you have all these people who are eager to be citizens and want to pay that fee, and then I think what has always been a bother to me is when people are like, oh, go through the legal way. And it's like, okay, there's that fee to become legal. Yeah. And I'm illegal. So therefore I have to do some illegal things to get to that legality of a status. And it's just so, but I think it's just such a gap there. Definitely needs to be reformed. Yeah.
It's funny to me. There are a lot of people who are citizens born in the U.S. that are completely useless to the U.S. system. completely useless, right?
Yes,
And
I'm
then
not
you
gonna
have
say
absolutely.
anything.
right, and then you have
You guys can say that.
no, I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna
I'll
say
say it
that.
too. I'll say it too.
Thank you. They're completely useless, right? And then you have somebody like Paula here who is actually doing a lot, you
Right.
know, educational wise, and just being able to give back. And so I always say that a lot of people, you know, they think DACA and they think, oh, these people are just trying to sneak in and do it. There are some people that are truly like her who are actually going to benefit society. You know, and I think our mindset just needs to change a little bit to say, okay, we can't bundle everybody into one group.
Right.
And that's the problem with politics now is we like to try to bundle everybody in one group. You
Exactly.
know, I know this is not a politic podcast because we would actually be only have one episode, but you know, but really what it comes down to is we always want to say, hey, we're in dental, right? But dentists are also smart enough to understand that there are colleagues that we have international, right? Kyle, I can guarantee you when you were taking when you get your master's and your doctorate for general dentistry that you actually had dealt with international
Right.
doctors who lectured to you and so forth. And
Right.
dentistry allows us to work collaboratively, international or not, right? A lot of the great lectures that I've heard were international doctors come in and
Mhm.
lecture to us about procedures and techniques and stuff like that that I incorporate into my practice.
Right.
You know,
Right.
so these are things that I think we need to just get by and just realize that guess what? You are not a bubble. You have a whole system. Dentistry is a whole system of
Right.
Mhm.
of everybody coming together and saying, how do we make this better? You know,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna get off my stool, but I really appreciate you saying that it's, you know, there's a lot of other people that are in this system here of DACA that we don't know about, we don't think about. We only see what the media wants us to see, but there's
Yeah.
so many other factors that are in this.
And I would even do a broader stroke, even just to say immigrants and refugees, because one of the
Yes.
main things that you know, that many people were fearful of is the patient forms that dentists give their patients when they first come
Yes.
in. You know, it's given to you like, oh, what's your social security? What employer do you work for?
Right.
Who? If you're an immigrant, why would you give that to a person that you've never seen, doesn't look like you, don't even know if that person will call ICE on you? Um,
Right. Right.
and also, like, if you're an immigrant, you speak another language and you don't know if that person has those services to like, speak Spanish or Somali or Tree.
Yes.
Like, why would
Yes.
I come there if I don't feel safe and I don't feel represented? So
Hmm.
people just neglect their health because they're like, no one's speaking for me.
Wow. I mean, man, you actually just said something huge, Kyle. And I know that you and I, because I know Kyle, did you do the did you go over to Honduras
Yeah.
when you were
Three
in dental
times. Yep.
school?
Yeah. Three
You
times.
did.
Yep. Yep.
Right. So somebody like yourself who actually got a chance to go to another country and do dentistry, at least when I went, I felt great. When I
Yeah.
went to Kenya, I felt great because I felt like I gave back to something, right?
Right.
I gave back to something bigger than myself.
Right.
And that's the problem. It's like, you know, what you said is so key. You want to be able to have somebody that will at least understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
You know, in dentistry, like we think we're very inclusive, but we're not. We need to do better. We
Yeah.
need to do better. For so long, it was mostly dominated by males. Then we
Mhm.
got 50-50. Now it's 50-50 male females. Now we need to start now incorporating ethnicity into it, right? So we can actually start doing this whole broad stroke of, okay, cool. You're Somali. Well, here's your dentist.
Yeah.
You're African. Here's your dentist. You know, you're
Mhm.
Hispanic. Here's your dentist. And I think those are the kind of things that we need to get better with. You know, but let's fast forward again. I keep doing this to you. Let's fast forward again because there's so much we can talk about. Let's get to the part where you're now applying for dental school. The process that you went to, and if you had any hurdles that you had to go through as somebody who was undocumented.
Yeah, so as a DACA student, I graduated in 2018. So I wanted to apply 2017, like right after I did my research at Caltech. And my status was taken because of the president. He didn't believe that this was a legal form of a legal way for us to have our work permits and things. So he took it away. So what that literally meant was that if my work permit was effective until let's say August 2018, it was as of that date, August, whatever he mentioned, it was like you're officially out of status. So like imagine like you're a college kid and you're looking for jobs, and as soon as your status is taken away, it's like, okay, I can't even look for a job because who's gonna pay me? And so I wanted to apply to dental school then. Couldn't apply because I didn't have DACA status, and there wasn't anything on the AdSAS platform that said like undocumented.
Right.
So there was DACA, but that was taken away. So I had to wait, and just in 2020, the Supreme Courts were deciding whether DACA was legal or not, and they ruled in favor of DACA recipients. And so we got our status back. So once I got my status back, that is when I applied last year to apply to dental school. And once again, I've been visiting these schools. I've been connecting with students. I've been showing how eager I am to attend dental school, but it's like I couldn't go. Now that I can, I'm ready. So I could only afford at the time 9 dental schools, and that's what I went with. And I got
What did you
interviews with the majority of them, actually.
What did you do for the 2 years that you were, I guess, kind of in limbo?
Yeah, so I was at Caltech, basically doing jellyfish regeneration research. And then, so once I finished that fellowship, I got a fellowship through Amgen Scholars. When I was done with that, my PI basically invited me back because he got funding from NIH to do a whole new lab here at UC Davis. And so he was like, can you come since you're free? And I was like, okay, but
you have nothing to do.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, I don't have anything to do, but like, is it okay that I'm undocumented? And they're like, they legally in California can't ask you about your status. And I was like, oh. Okay. So I left. I was like, okay, so I was going to Ohio, and I was just like catch a whole flight across town, the country, I should say. And yeah, and then yes, I've just been doing basically research and regeneration at UC Davis. Yeah.
So a question about DACA with you had said to become a citizen, it's a couple $1,000 legal fees and stuff. So within DACA, you can stay in that program basically as long as you want to, or is there at some point where you're supposed to be actively pursuing getting that citizenship, or how does all that work?
That would be amazing. That is something we're currently fighting for. And actually, a draft of a legislation was passed in the House just this past week to have a pathway to citizenship because you're a DACA student. So different forms of this legislation has been brought before, but hasn't passed the Senate. But yeah, that's the goal. Right now, there's no pathway to citizenship. So the only means that you could get before, most people got through the military. That's not an avenue anymore. You can file through your sibling or your parent if they are a citizen, or a spouse as well. So those are the 3 avenues. Well, not 3 avenues, 2. Yeah, 2 to my understanding. There's only 2 through your like siblings and parents, and then a spouse.
Okay.
Yeah.
When it comes to your dental school application, I remember, and Kyle, tell me if you had to go through this too. You know how like each school has like their health board or whatever that you go talk to, and they basically write you a letter of recommendation to say whether or not you're a good candidate to go to dental school, med school, veterinary school. Okay. Did you have to go through that? And how was that process for you?
I did have to go through that. So I wanted to apply the cycle of 2017, 2018. And so I did my interview then with my committee. And this committee was a committee of professors I've already had before, professors I've gotten A's and B's in. And, they basically made it like kind of like a mock interview, like why dentistry? What do you see doing? And I put my best face forward, and I told them this is my dream. And they're like, okay, well, we do know that there is a factor of your life that's basically undocumented. How do you see yourself being able to do this? And I was like, I have no idea. I seriously don't, but I know that there have been DACA students who have. And so I'm working with them right now just to find how they're doing that. And how they're basically doing that is getting a cosigner. And they all like laughed, like, who is going to co-sign dental school loans? Why?
Yeah.
And I said, and I was like, well, I don't know yet, but that things can change by the time that I get my get into dental school, because there are private loans, there are private scholarships. So that's something that some of the DACA students and like at OHSU have received. So I have no idea. It just depends on the school that I get into. And they were like, okay, outside of that, currently, we know that you've done some advocacy work for dentistry or things at Berea and before Berea, but like you haven't, have you ever been in a dental chair? And I said no, like I was undocumented, never had the chance to be in a dental chair. And so they're like, so how are you going to be a good dentist if you've never even been to the dentist? And I was like, well, I definitely think I can learn, and you know, I can learn. And
how did
I
all
can
these
go.
men become gynecologists without ever sitting in a gynecologist chair?
God forbid you are an OBGYN and never gave birth. And never gave birth to any child, then you are going to be a horrible OBGYN. You guys out there who have never given birth are completely missing out on the whole process of being a good OBGYN. That is the dumbest thing ever.
Yeah.
Okay, Kyle, you got to
And-
calm me down. That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
So I told them, I was like, well, you know, that experience I can probably get while I shadow. And Berea makes you, you know, the requirement for ADSAS in most dental schools is that you get at least 100 hours of shadowing. But Berea had, in order for you to pay, for them to pay for all expense, you had to have 300 hours plus for you to qualify to even get that full experience of being paid to shadow. So I got 380 hours of shadowing. Like I was there 9 to 5 every day, even sometimes on Saturdays when my dentist was volunteering. So I got those hours in, but I guess it wasn't enough. And what was so sad was after I left that interview room, like yeah, I left that interview room and I was like, yeah, maybe I shouldn't do dentistry. And I literally bawled my eyes out. And I called, I reached out to my friend, Laura Aguilar, who was a DACA student at UCSF. And I like basically sent, because when it was starting to go left, I don't know what in me just was like, let me record this because maybe this is like actually true and I should actually start to figure out what to do. And I sent it to her and she was like, this is ridiculous. This is not true. Don't let them write your application. Don't let them recommend you. Like they don't know what they're talking about. And I felt torn because I had already seen the ADSAS application. You must have a committee letter. So I went to my teacher that I was TAing for, and she knew my story. She's been so supportive of me. And I was like, can you just write mine individually? And she was like, no, it's like part of our policy that we submit our letters and then it's like infused into the recommendation letter. So there'll be parts of my recommendation letter in there. And I was like, okay. And I had no choice. So I went with it.
You know, because so when I applied to dental school 2004, 2005, I actually put my packet together myself. I went to the board and Pitt, I mean, you know, Kyle, you should know, I went to the board, listened to what they said. They were like, oh, well, we don't think you should apply to dental school. Maybe you should do an what's it called? Post back. And I was like, okay, because, and everybody knows the story, like I failed biology 1. Mm-hmm. So they're like, well, you failed bio 1, so you should do a post back. And I was like, okay, but you can see the rest of my other grades. Well, no, but you failed bio 1, so you should do a post back. And I still don't understand to this day why they honed in on that so much, But anyway, so I just basically ignored that letter, threw that away, had my own packet, made my own packets, and I got all my individual letters from my professors, put it together, and then mailed out my applications individually to all the schools. But apparently, I guess you can't do that anymore.
No.
Which eliminates a lot of stuff. I mean, I guess it makes it easier for ADSAS to like compact everything together, but I feel like it's kind of lazy. I did everything myself, and I mean, all my schools got back to me.
Yeah, I had to kind of. So what happened was, I reached out to them last year. Sorry, not the last year, like 2019. Told them like, I know I want to apply this upcoming year. Please have my application ready. I mean, my recommendation ready. Here's also like my personal statement and things I've been doing during my gap year. Please try to incorporate this into my my recommendation letter. And I didn't get a response. And then it was March, and I was like, so I emailed them back, and I actually emailed my professor that I actually confided in, and I told her like, can you tell them to send my recommendation in early? And she was like, yeah. And then they said that, you know, they never got the link, and I was like, okay, sure. So 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 what's interesting is when the time came, like June 16th, this past cycle, to submit on the first day, they still hadn't even had my recommendation letter in. But because they didn't, I was able to add 3 other recommendation letters in there. So I was able to get my apostle, I was able to get my PI and my boss. I just put that in there, and my dentist, and I put that in there, and yeah, so 3 against 1 I thought would win, but yeah.
Wow.
That's what happened.
Okay. Kyle, anything before I fast forward again? Because I feel like you're blown away with this whole situation.
Yeah. I think we're ready to make a jump. So
okay, let's fast forward because I really don't understand this. I mean, your school sounded amazing until you got to this point. I'll be honest with you. so let's pretend that they didn't do any of that. Let's fast forward now. So now you got your interviews.
Yeah.
Tell me how many schools you applied for, how many you got in, and then tell me what the hurdle was for the schools, right? Because you did jelly research. You had enough time to go shadow enough people for like 10 lifetimes. Your grades. Can we ask like how you did grade wise?
So I had a 3.4 GPA.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And what about your DATs?
My DAT was a 19.
A 19. And so the average is a 17. At least when I was going through dental school, it's a 17. I'm not sure what it is now. It could be like a 99. I don't know how
I think the average is still 18.
18, okay. 17. Okay. So you're above average for that. And GPA wise, you're probably within the scope of GPA. So research should probably put you a little bit advanced, right? Because most people don't do that kind of research for that extended amount of time and get paid for it. But so you fast forward. Now you're at the interview stage. Yeah. How do you talk to people about this whole Daca situation? Because again, don't forget, you have financial issues you have to deal with. You have to have somebody co-sign for you. You may not even be able to be in the U.S.
So, but before we talk about interviews, before we started the podcast, we had talked about you can't just apply to any dental school that you want to, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So what I did was actually email every admissions officer I saw on their website. And, that was like Howard, Meharry, UNC, Marquette, Tufts. Where else did I?
So these are schools that accept Daca?
Yes.
Okay. Oregon, okay, good. I want to make sure.
Oregon, UCSF, UOP, Western, Loma Linda, UCLA, USC, and I emailed all of them, and I was like, can I set up a meeting and just like really talk, like what's interesting is like what I really want is I want a Daca student, but I can't like release information on this Daca student you have at your school.
Give me their information now.
Yeah. So because that's the person that I would really get more insight from. But I was like, can I set up a meeting and can you tell me what you know about what the school's doing to support Daca? And really, honestly, some of them didn't even know what I was talking about. So that eliminated like 3. And then one, Tufts just simply said that they don't accept Daca students. And so that eliminated it back to 9. And so I applied to those schools and I applied to those schools. So I got an interview first with Loma Linda. I got an interview with Oregon, USC, UCSF, and Meharry. And
that's a lot of interviews.
So yeah, right. We were saying how many schools there are, how many dental schools there are, and I want to say that there's about 70 dental schools, and I can look up the number.
There's new ones, I think.
Right. Yeah. Every year, like another one. Yeah. Every year, another one pops up. And so basically, you're limited to to 9 to 12, 15
Yeah.
schools. So you literally like you can eliminate, my God, so 50 some schools you can't even apply to at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And each year
Yeah.
there's probably like 4,000 to 6,000 students that get in, and like 12 to 15,000, if not 20,000 students that
Yeah.
apply.
And it's actually interesting because some of these schools are also like a reach for me. Like, UCLA's minimum GPA is a 3.8, but I was still encouraged. I was like, hey,
Why not? Why
not?
why not try?
Mm.
Right. And so you're very limited on the schools that you can apply to. So you are basically saying, hey, these are my goal. This is my goal right here.
Yeah.
Like if Kyle applied, we would have 70 options.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You have 15.
I was always so envious of like people on like there's like DAT and like admissions Facebook. They're like, oh yeah, I applied to 20 schools. I was like, Lord bless me with the finances, even to pay for 20 dental schools.
Even just applying is
1,000,
expensive.
I was like, Lord, this 1,000, make it work. Yeah, it's not easy money.
No. I was the same way. I mean, and I'm sure Kyle, you were the same way. Like you have to be selective because I mean, I don't have endless bank account.
Yeah.
My parents didn't help me with any of this stuff, so it was just me. Like, okay, I gotta be selective. Let's look at what options do I have.
Not only with applying, but it's also the travel to get there if you do get an interview.
Yes, I remember when I went to Boston. I stayed at a hostel. Basically, I was in a room with 6 bunk beds. Okay, and it was me and like some other people that just basically were just traveling through Boston. You know, and then I get to my interview and they're like, "Oh, what hotel did you stay at?" I was like, "Hotel? What are you talking?" I stayed at that place, that house that has like 6 other people, and I remember I had to put my luggage in a locker, and I had to bring a lock.
Okay,
you know what I mean? So while everybody got a good night's sleep, I was getting people coming in and out of the room while I was trying to sleep and get ready for the next day. You know, but it builds character. You know,
Yeah.
it builds character.
It really
I
does.
don't. I don't ever foresee myself doing that to my daughters, but my dad thought that was a good idea to do that to me. So, so it's a character building opportunity. That's how I keep looking at it. You know what I mean? So it's amazing.
I was just honestly blessed because I got to visit the schools before. I visited them while I was at Berea's expense, and then
Nice.
And then, but then COVID happened, and then we didn't have to go anywhere. I was like, Lord, look at you, just like free. I was like, yeah. So in my heart of hearts, I was like, listen, if God can get me a free opportunity before, He must do it now.
I'm not gonna lie. You might be the only person that was excited about COVID, because you might be the only person on this earth that was like, COVID, not so bad, because I don't have to travel. Right?
Yeah,
We talked about that, Kyle. Right?
Yep.
The one interview we had, you don't have to travel. You basically get to Zoom everything, so you save so much money on expenses. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Okay, so do you think that whenever you applied to the schools, do you think that there was a limitation on what schools were going to accept you and what they weren't going to accept because of the whole DACA situation? Do you think that schools that said, hey, we accept DACA students, do you think that they were just basically saying we accept 1 or 2? So if there's 5 of you applying,
all of them were saying 1 or 2. All of them were saying 1 or 2.
So you're still limited based on that as well.
Yeah. So I knew I was only fighting for 1 or 2 spots, because OHSU, I think, each of the schools I was told whenever it brought up DACA, they're like, oh yeah, I know 1, I know 2. That was it. So it was. I knew I was only going for 2 spots, and I fortunately it was good because I didn't know any DACA that was applying, so I feel like I was just like, let me put my all into this and not feel bad that I'm taking a spot from someone. But every interview, when I emailed them, thanking them, and I had a few questions to give them about clarifying from what our interview was, they always just, it could have just been flattery, but they made it seem like that was the best one that day, or said something to that extent. So I was feeling pretty proud of myself. And then I finally heard back December 15th. Oh man. And then it was just USC that accepted me. And the rest were waitlisted, and I took myself off of like the out of state ones and then kept the in state ones. Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
you're thinking about going to USC.
I am going to USC. I paid that deposit.
He said no. She said I'm going. So USC. USC is not a very cheap school.
Correct.
Very, very expensive. Let's just say in general dentistry, dental schools are very expensive.
Yeah.
But you're choosing one of the most expensive schools in the US.
Yeah.
Let's talk finances. You said, and I quote, you were like, hey, I need somebody to co-sign for me.
Yeah.
How are you going to do this?
Just going to ask the host of Tooth Be Told that shares a common heritage with her of being Ghanaian. So I think she's on here asking for your cosign, Walter.
And I have no qualms. I have no qualms in doing that. And I appreciate. Actually, I like the way you did that. If I can figure a way to build this house that I'm building right now, if that's not going to interfere with me and this house that I have to build, then I'm
forgot the one
also,
important. You got to ask your wife.
Just to sweeten the deal, I also have a savings I can give to help sweeten the deal, if that helps.
Listen, I'm not gonna lie to you. If you gave me that money, I'm just gonna put it towards this house. So you don't want to do that. Put it towards something that's more beneficial. Please put it towards something more beneficial. Like you are going to be able to graduate and make way more money than I am going to do with this house. This house is probably going to be more of like a money pit than anything else. And just know my kids and how much I spoiled them. But that's another story, and I need them to listen to this years from now and be like, Dad really did care about us. Because I bet you, when they're teenagers, they're gonna be like, "Oh, he doesn't know anything." So I want you to, I want us to date this day, and so that they know that I tried. No, but please tell us, like, what are your plans? Like, how are we going to do this?
So I still don't have a solid answer because like I mentioned before, the person who would have been in the best position would be my parents, and they were actually deported while I was in college and in high school. And the co-signer also has to be a US citizen. And so in my journey of this, I asked everyone I knew who was a citizen, honestly. I asked my sisters, I asked their husbands, their respective husbands, and they just couldn't. I mean, and at that time too, I hadn't even gotten into dental school, but it was already just like, oh girl, no, we don't think we can do this. No. And that really hurt. That really did hurt because it was just like, I don't know. They always made me feel like I was like the lifeline for our family to kind of bring us out of our situation. And here I am trying and hoping for their investment, and they can't. And so I'm actually honestly just waiting until, because USC hasn't given me like any information about like what private loans, what rates, what aid I may even get. So I'm just like, honestly, I'm just leaving it up to God and waiting, because that's everything up until this moment, even with like Daca being taken away. I think what it's really taught me is that whatever I want, I just have to wait for it. So I'm waiting, and we'll see. And oddly enough, one person has asked, like, why don't you just reapply? And I actually looked into it. I was like, okay, sure, let's like do the cycle again, but I would have to apply to the same schools again. And I talked to, the dean of diversity at one of the schools, and he was like, they frown upon that actually. So yeah, the fact
you're good. Yeah, you're gonna do it this year. That's not an issue. Here's the one thing that a lot of people don't realize is the federal government pretty much takes a good amount of your loans up to a certain amount. I want to say it's like 200, Kyle. Correct me if you know this. 200, 250, right? And then after that, the private loans kick in more.
No, my whole dental school was federal loans.
Right.
Everything. There was really, and that, getting back to government, I think that's one of the problems why dental school has continued to get more and more expensive, because the government has basically come in and said, whatever you need to charge these students, we'll lend the money for that. So that makes them say, well, well, I can keep raising rates. I'm going to get more income as a business. So if somebody's going to cover it, if somebody's going to pay for it. So yeah, I had, when I graduated, I was 316,000 in debt, and that was 100% federal student loans.
So 316,000, and it was all federal.
Yes.
Student loans. Okay, because for me it was 455, and I want to say that I didn't hit private loans until my Perio residency.
Okay.
You see, so because undergrad I pretty much had most of it covered by scholarships. It wasn't until dental school and then undergrad, or I'm sorry, until Perio that I had to deal with that. So you don't get that option of the 300,000 plus.
You know,
that sucks.
I've also thought about this. Like I really did think about this, and my family has really just been supportive outside of like finding me a cosigner. And what we've done is I'm right now in the process of actually changing my immigration status through the familial process way, because two of my older sisters are also citizens. So you know, that is supposed to, my lawyer is saying that the longest she's ever had anyone wait for that is 2 years. And right now I am a year and 3 months. So I'm hoping it kicks in while I'm in dental school, and then I can get
federal.
Get federal in some capacity. And so yeah, that's also a prayer point for me.
So wow. So we have a lot of prayer. We have a lot to pray
that's
for.
All that has been getting me through.
So your whole experience so far, if you were the one that's put in charge of immigration for the United States, with deciding who comes in, who doesn't, how things are funded, with you going through the whole process of being undocumented, then DACA, then not DACA, now DACA again, and working towards citizenship, how would you fix the system?
That's tough. That's a tough question, Kyle.
That's like, I know. I know it is. I know it is.
Honestly,
how do you cure cancer, Kyle?
Honestly, I just think what's interesting is that they have some parts of the immigration. Like, I'm not saying we should get it and take it away. Like, I definitely think there's a reform because there's some good parts about it. Like, for instance, I'm sure you guys have heard of the like green card lottery. Right? I definitely think they already have a platform to screen people before they come in, and these are people who are not specialized, right? So if there are people who are at the border, put them through that same screening that you do for people around the country before choosing their number and doing that background check on them. Because I think, you know, the main argument of American people is they want to be safe. They want their families to be safe, right? So then just do the background check that you do on every one of us, and like facilitate with these governments that, you know, that are sending not sending, but like that people are coming from their countries, and work with them. I think it's a great opportunity to get more communication going between like Mexico and the way, especially when you think of Canada and US relations, they have that communication going on. I think it's a limitation in relationships that's really causing this, at least when it comes to the border situation. And then those who are already here, you've already screened them. If you've given them DACA, you've already seen what they're doing. Most of us are specializing in a type of field that's already boosting the economy. So create a pathway to citizenship for them. And most likely we'll pass that history test better than an American would.
Oh, I know this.
Definitely.
I can guarantee you, if you ask the people what are the three branches of government, I can guarantee you 90% of people won't know. So that's another story.
Yeah.
Have you talked to any DACA dental students?
Oh
yeah. I know 4. I know 4. One who has graduated, and he had to work while he was in dental school, and I don't. He literally was like, I didn't eat. Like, I didn't have, I was the skinniest I was in my life. He doesn't recommend it. I thought about that, honestly, and I don't mind being skinny. I could lose weight.
Honestly, if I had to work a job to pay for dental school while I was in dental school, there's just not enough hours in the day. Dental school was, it wasn't a full-time job. It wasn't 40 hours a week. It was, I slept
89. Yeah.
and I went to dental school and studied, and that was it. There was no time. I mean, if you're, photographic memory and don't have to study, that's one thing. But for the vast majority, at least for me, it was I studied, I went to class, and I slept, and that was it. So I don't see how working is even, a job that, a part-time job that pays you 10, 15, 20,000 a year. If you're lucky, that's a drop in the bucket when it comes to, $70,000 a year.
Yeah, for sure.
Can we just
most
say?
of them. Yeah, sorry.
No, I'm sorry. Can we just say that in the end, I hope that this podcast kind of allowed people to understand that there's so many different things going on when it comes to immigration.
Mm-hmm.
And that, when you look on, online or look in the, Fox News, CNN, and all these other BBC, and you see people going across the border, you're thinking, oh, those are DACA. But there's your face. There's somebody that you probably never thought of who's trying to become a dentist so they can help you out. And they're having so much issues just even trying to get to the position to help you out. A lot of people, when they apply for dental school, their statement is like, "Oh, well, my dad is a dentist," or "Oh, my dentist saved my life somehow," and all of a sudden I'm in this, I love teeth and all this other stuff. And you have somebody who's legitimately going through so many hurdles just to get to dental school. So I really hope that people appreciate, your story and appreciate what you had to go through. And if you can at least get in contact, maybe with me or Kyle, I want to talk to that guy who finished dental school, as a DACA student. I want to get his story because you're the beginning of the story. I want to see what the middle and the end looks like.
Yeah, his is very interesting because Oregon. What the thing was, he is an Oregon resident, and he can explain when I connect you guys. But he was an Oregon resident, and so they had like in-state scholarship for Oregon residents who are DACA to actually be able to go to med school or dental school, and that's how he made it. And I didn't find that out until I interviewed.
He was about to move.
Yeah, honestly, huh?
Right?
Very easy.
Okay.
Yeah, and UCSF is just a whole different thing. Yeah.
Do you regret picking dentistry? No, I mean, I know that. Look, you're already in, so this is truth be told.
Yeah.
You regret picking such a hard path to try to get to your end goal, right? I'm sure you could have you could have started a business and it'd be a lot easier than this. So you regret going through this whole process because you gave up 2 years of your life where you didn't do anything. Right?
Yeah, I did, and I learned a lot in that time too.
No offense to jellyfish anywhere. No offense to jellyfish out there.
No. Honestly, I learned. I felt, when you say, I really agree with that sentiment of like you're studying and then you have classes and you sleep. That was ever since high school and ever since like DACA came, that lit like a fire under my butt. And I've been going really hard, trying my best. And so this 2-year gap was a blessing because I was tired. I was really tired. I was mentally exhausted. Like I didn't even know if I loved learning at that point. And during my gap year, I got to learn more languages. I've learned Japanese. I've learned Chinese. I am brushing up on my Spanish. I'm brushing up on my Tree. Thank my mom.
Wow.
So I feel like I've actually finally rounded myself. They want a holistic applicant, but I feel like now I'm actually finally whole. Like I'm actually now ready to put my all into dentistry. But yeah, I tried. I wrote for the New York Times. I used my skills, and I still feel like all those other things just don't give me that level of satisfaction as it would from what I remember from shadowing and that life fulfillment. Yeah, I don't think I would do anything else. And honestly, even with becoming a lawyer or anything that I really wanted to do, graduate school, I would still have faced these same challenges. There are more graduate school that don't accept DACA students. So I would get it wherever I go.
Wow. So is there anything that you wanted to say to any of the listeners out there? Any plea for help or any anything along those lines that
Yeah, honestly, I'm really, it's not in my character to beg, but if there is someone out there that finds a way to help me, I would be so honored and blessed. And I can definitely tell you a whole village in Africa or Ghana will be there to support you and like give you their thanks. Because honestly, I know what this means for my family. I know what it means for me. And I'm ready. I'm ready to put it all in. And for any other DACA student that's, pursuing med or any higher education, my faith is really important to me. And God didn't say that this life was going to be easy, but in the waiting, you're being refined and there's something better. There's something better. There's something always better.
would you be comfortable giving out any kind of contact information that somebody could reach out to you?
Yeah,
maybe she can sponsor you.
Yes, follow me. Hi. But yeah, I have a Instagram. It's called Study Dr. Pow Pow. So STUDY Dr. DRPAO.
Awesome.
Yes, and if you're a pre-dental student or even a dental student, and you have Clubhouse, she is on there, and her and a lot of dental students. I mean, they're doing really great things, and
Yeah.
I mean,
So if you do get, oh, by the way, I know you're an Android user. I'm also an Android user, die hard. I'm not converting. But actually, the reason why I'm able to get on there is through my iPad. But what I would definitely say is, I lost my train of thought. Oh my. Oh, future minority dentist is on Clubhouse, and we have like dentists and dental students really advising pre-dents, and really dentists advising dental students as well. And we have so many events coming up. We have one tomorrow about orthodontic residency and becoming an orthodontist. And then later on, we've tackled so many subjects like racism in dental school, imposter syndrome in dental school, financing dental school. We've also talked about looking at contracts when you first graduate dental school. So I think there's enough for everyone to go around and learn and be encouraged. So
I will say two things. Kyle will be wonderful when it comes to contracts. Like this man, he's a lawyer. I mean, you may not know, he's pretty much a lawyer. And then the second thing is, I don't know why you interviewed an orthodontist. They're not dentists. So we'll eliminate that part.
Wow. I'll pass that on.
So let them know that I said that. And
you can come on and say it yourself.
Let me know. I'll be like, so when did you give up on dentistry? So when did you give up on dentistry? But let's go ahead and end it off here. I honestly believe that you are going to get into dental. You're going to excel in dental school. Not even get in, but excel in dental school. And my daughters tell me to get off of this. But I really believe that if there's any way anybody can help you, they will. And they should. They should. And I mean, like you said, your faith is what's going to lead you through all this, right? And when you get into dental school, you'll realize that like your faith is what's going to carry you through a dental school. Because there's some times where you just want to give up. There's some times where you just want to be like, I don't even know why I chose this route. It's like you went through, and you especially went through so much. You're gonna get to dental school and be like, why did I do this again? But stay strong and remember this, that Kyle and I went through this, and we lean on you. Yeah. And correct me if I'm wrong, Kyle, but we lean on you just to give us the encouragement, to give us the foresight to say, hey, we chose this, and people want to do what we're doing. So we're actually very blessed to be in the position that we're in. As much as we complain, Kyle, we do. Right?
You remind us of why we chose why we wanted to do what we do.
Exactly.
Thank you.
I couldn't have said it better.
I'll be relying on you guys too moving forward, for sure.
Absolutely. Yep. We will let you go. Thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate it. Oh, by the way, she actually called me out. She's like, hey, do you know how to put your podcast on other platforms? And I was like, forgive me, I'm old. So she's our official, unofficial communication / get it out to the world.
I can help run your Instagram. I don't know.
Listen, we're not gonna pay you. Okay, we're not gonna pay. let's put it out there right now. We are not gonna pay you, but we appreciate you. We appreciate you. But no, honestly, thank you so much for coming on. We definitely appreciate
Yes, thank you.
and we hope to talk to you soon. Right?
Yes, for sure.
Come back on and let us know how everything's going.
Yeah, I will.
All right, cool. Take care, guys. That's.